Surprise, Jen!
Surprise, Mrs. Franco!
Surprise indeed, and welcome to everyone who is here tonight to join Jennifer.
You mean Mrs. Franco?
Okay, to join Mrs. Franco in celebrating her retirement from years of service here at Mundelein High School. My name is Alexander Kapitas.
And I'm April Hutter. And we're here to walk everyone through some memories of Mrs. Franco both inside
And outside.
the classroom. Mr. Kapitas, how long have you known Mrs. Franco?
I've known Mrs. Franco since I first started here back in 1998. She's been a friend and mentor to me for the last 21 years, and I can't imagine my teaching career without her. How about you? How do you know Mrs. Franco, April?
Well, I had Mrs. Franco for speech class my senior year, and I graduated in 2007.
2007? Why don't you catch Mrs. Franco up on your life? Like, where are you living?
Well, I've been living in a van down by the river. Actually, no, I'm living in Chicago in an apartment, and I work in sales, so I'm still clearly putting those speech classes to use.
April's story about living in a van down by the river is one of several memories that we're going to be sharing with you tonight. Over the last couple of weeks, we sat with some people who know Jen best, and they have some stories to share about her. We've got lots to share, so why don't we get started, April?
Yeah, Mrs. Franco, you made quite an impression on me. In fact, from what I've heard, you've made quite an impression on everyone you've met.
Let's hear some stories.
Yeah.
My first impression of Jennifer was that she was just smiling a lot, which was one of the criteria we had for that we set up for our interviews. Our bottom line, and I think it held up time and time again, we wanted someone who could spend a weekend with the teachers in the department at a conference on professional development and push our thinking. But we also wanted someone, once the conference sessions were over and it was a Saturday night, we could go to dinner and have a lot of fun.
My first impression of Jennifer Franco was someone who welcomed me with open arms and supported me, because this was a whole new turf for me, being in a high school, and she just kind of pulled me in with that enthusiasm and smile. She was the best.
I started working here as an instructional aide, and she was a teacher, and she was very welcoming to me. She was very kind and welcoming and helping me find my way here.
Well, my first impression would have been the follow-up interview when Carol and her department were done. And Carol came to me and said, I have scheduled an interview with a teacher that you're going to hire. So my interview was kind of a courtesy interview. And when Jennifer came in, it was obvious quickly that they had made a terrific choice. I mean, she was outgoing, energetic, and fit, as Carol suggested, just fit well with them. She was philosophically in the right place. She knew what we wanted to try to do, and she was just what we were looking for.
She was very interested in the work that we were doing in our department and asked questions that gave us an indication that she really understood what we were doing. She agreed with a lot of the philosophy, and she laughed at all of our jokes. In fact, one of the people on our interview team wanted to, prior to the interview, had asked if he could request that she do a little dance for us, since her name was Jennifer Beal. And we said, no, we cannot ask that, don't do it. And she was so warm and inviting and seemed to be okay with everything that was going on during the interview. At the end, he said, I just have one last question. He said, could you do a little bit of dancing for us, Miss Beal?
My first impression of Jen Franco actually came, I think, through students, because when she first started, I think I had some students who had her, and they came in ranting a little bit about all of her energy. And so my first impression was I didn't know somebody could genuinely be that positive. And I discovered over time, yes, She actually was genuinely, truly that positive.
My first impression of Jen was, man, does she drink a lot of coffee in the morning? Because she's like so hyped.
Before our first date, she called, or actually I called her up, and we just hit it off immediately. We talked for probably 2 or 3 hours on the telephone, running the gamut from A to Z on all sorts of topics. It was just, you know, like my wife would say, like cutting butter. You know, it was just easy to get along, and we just talked and talked and talked, and just really had a connection. And so, great conversation. She asked great questions. She always shows interest in the other person that she's talking to. She doesn't just talk, she listens and asks a lot of good questions. So great conversationalist, definitely.
April, Jennifer Franco indeed makes an impression on everyone that she meets. Now, if you had to pick 3 words to describe her, which 3 words would you pick?
Well, I'm so glad you asked. I would definitely say up first and foremost would be funny, because I always thought she's hilarious. And then I would definitely say empathetic. She really knows how to meet students where they are, and encouraging, because she definitely encouraged me.
You know, those are 3 great words. Why don't we listen to what others came up with as well?
Yeah.
3 words to describe Jennifer Franco. 3 words, that's very difficult because there are so many.
Enthusiastic, dedicated, and a joy.
Kind, bubbly, and really tall.
Bubbly, effervescent, and positive.
Evanescent, effusive, and exuberant.
3 words to describe Jennifer Franco. I think at the top of my list would be thoughtful. She would consider things very carefully before acting, or if she heard something, she wouldn't always immediately respond. She would think things through.
Friendly, definitely friendly. Generous to a T. And gut-busting funny. Yes, she can be very much so. Yes, she can be very, very funny. She's not only funny, but she sees the humor in other people as well. So even my stupid, corny humor she laughs at. I mean, that's half the reason why I married her.
Those were great descriptions, April, but you could probably guess that people had some pretty amusing stories to share about Jennifer Franco. What's one that you remember?
So my senior year, when I had Mrs. Franco for speech class, Nicole, Kyle, and I all piled in a car and we drove out to go see one of Mrs. Franco's plays that she was in. And I'm sure you can imagine she was quite the actress. What about you, Mr. Capitas?
Well, I've been teaching next door to Mrs. Franco for the last 15 years, and one of my most vivid memories was during a grammar lesson, and I'm trying to teach this very dry grammar lesson, and all of a sudden I hear Ozzy Osbourne's Crazy Train getting played on the tuba by a student during one of her speech classes.
Wow, that's crazy.
That's totally crazy. And you know what else is crazy? The other stories that people had to share.
Let's hear those.
Jennifer did not mind being foolish in front of her students.
Oh, really? I never heard that one.
And she would do it in ways that sometimes would surprise them, but always they would end up feeling more comfortable, and it really did get across the message that it's okay to have fun and be foolish, and that's how we learn. I don't think I saw it as much as John saw that side of her, and he has some stories.
Yeah, she did some interesting things.
And it was one lunchtime, and we all sit in the English office and have lunch. And we're sitting there, and there's a man sitting at the table, and we're not quite sure who he is. And he starts talking about his textbooks, and we find out that he is a rep for a textbook company. And he says something about the textbooks, and Jen Franco is sitting there, and she says right to his face, "I don't give a shit about your textbooks." And she gets up and walks out of the room, and we're all like, "What just happened?" It was so humorous because it was so unexpected. We've never heard Jen swear before, and the way that she effused toward this man was a bit uncharacteristic of her.
I like the memory of her as a teacher when she was in the video, when we did the song, the going off a block schedule. I just picture her when belting out that line, "We're not going back." That's probably an easy image of what I always saw her like, just kind of belting something out and taking that dramatic approach.
And we were sitting around the lunchroom with Pete Nadler, who had just had his son, and for whatever reason we were talking about boys' names, and Jen came in, sat down, and overheard the name Max, and she said, "Well, that's what you would name a dog." And Pete got really quiet, and he said, "Yes, Jen, that's what I named my son."
That one, I don't know if I was going in for an informal evaluation or just walking past her room or whatever, and I heard some commotion in the room and thought I'd look in, and ended up stepping into the room, and she was standing on a chair singing Amazing Grace. I'm not sure it was good singing, but it was effective.
I will say, John being John, he never let it go. He would always mention, "Hey, Jennifer, will you sing a little bit of Amazing Grace for us?"
As it turns out, Jen sang Amazing Grace on more than one occasion.
She told me one time that there were some couple kids that were arguing outside of her room or something, or just about ready to get into a fight of some sort. And she went outside in the hallway, and instead of, chastising them or telling them to be quiet or whatever, she walked right into the middle of them and started singing Amazing Grace. And then she sang the whole song. She just didn't sing a couple bars. And the kids, from what she told me, their response was just their mouth was agape. They were looking at each other like, "Who is this weird woman? And why is she singing Amazing Grace?" Well, needless to say, they stopped arguing and they went on their merry way.
Those were fantastic and totally capture Mrs. Franco. Let's hear some more.
Every August, I had to do the annual mandatory in-service for bloodborne pathogens. Just stellar subject. And faculty would be coming in, and I'd be standing up front, and Jen would take her place in the auditorium, and I would start with this vital information, but not something everybody's dying to learn. So Jen would sit there nodding and smiling, and I could look at her at any point, and she was just like going, "You go, girl." And it would get me through my little 20-minute blurb, and then I'd be able to go on for the day. But just every year, without fail, just smiling at me like it was the first time she heard it, and just excited about this information.
Well, first of all, her Lady Silly performances are pretty hard to top, where she plays this British woman who plays the, God, what is that thing called? Rebec.
That this is a genuine Rebec own chord, or a one-stringed Rebec of the 16th century.
Is really nothing more than a what is it? A cigar box with a string connected to it, and then she goes off on this silly. You have to see it.
When all was done, he dug 2 little graves, and there he buried them deep. Then he made himself a cup of tea, and he married the girl next door. Father, oh, dear, down, Terry. Little man, you've had a busy day. May your future years be merry. Ding dong, derry dong,
So from what we've learned so far, from her first impressions, descriptions, and memories of her, Mrs. Franco is quite the character.
But we're also going to learn that there isn't much difference between the Mrs. Franco and the Jennifer Franco. So whether she's in the classroom or out of the classroom, she's pretty much the same person.
Well, let's put it this way. Whenever I ran into Jennifer, it was always a kind word, a fun thing. Sometimes her stories were a little long, but other than that, you know, she always made me feel good as her principal, in the way she greeted me and what she would say to me.
One of my favorite memories of Jen as a person was watching her love life evolve. She started dating John shortly after she started teaching here, and she went into that relationship with hesitation. And we watched that, but we also watched the love grow. And it was just a beautiful thing to watch the two of them fall in love and get married, and we had a shower for them, and it was just a lot of fun. And I think for the people who were single in our department, for the people going through divorce, it gave all of us hope that something like that could happen for us.
So we jokingly refer to each other as Kenosha Jen because we both are in the county. She's in the city, I'm out in the county. But I was I think for the farmer's market on a Saturday morning, I was in downtown Kenosha, and I came around driving through one of the side streets, and I look up and there's Jen talking with her husband to a couple on the side of the street, and she's using her hands, and I said, she is 100% the exact same person on the street of Kenosha as she is in the halls of Mundelein. She is positive and effervescent, and she never stops being Jen.
Well, that pretty much covers it, right?
Pretty much, but we didn't stop there, April. We're about to hear how Jennifer Beal became interested in the teaching profession, and here to share that story, as well as several other stories from her youth, is Jennifer's mom, the one and only Aileen Beal.
And I don't know at what point she decided to be a teacher, but when she got into it, she did try out for the ROTC. Her father encouraged her so that perhaps she could get some money to pay for it, but when one morning she found that she was putting what kind of
Claymore mines.
A Claymore mine together, and suddenly thought she didn't want to do that. She just didn't think making mines was suitable for her. Suddenly we realized she was just going into teaching. She was an easy child. Didn't have bad tempers or anything particularly. She had one or two peculiar habits. There was a time when she had a tendency to take her clothes off in the playpen outside, and the neighbors asked why she was always wearing her coat backwards. Well, that way she kept her clothes on while in the playpen outside, and because she would take them off, she was quite happy to do it. There was a boy, the Quinns. There were three of them, four of them, I can't remember. And she was on the school bus, and this one of them picked on another kid. And she yelled, I wasn't there, this is what I've heard. She said, don't do that. And the boy said, who's going to stop me? And the next thing she knew, Jennifer had powered him and knocked him down. So when she came home and told me, I immediately called the principal, and I said, you may get a call from Mrs. Quinn because Jennifer just flattened whatever Quinn boy it was. The principal never heard about it because the child, we'd think, did not tell his mother because he'd been flattened by a girl, and that would not have done well. So Jennifer got off scot-free. Well, she did insist that she was allowed to play baseball with the boys because she got women's lib at that point, and it was a big fuss, and she got on the team. Of course, she couldn't play. She wasn't very good. But there was one time when she was playing and on the team, and she caught the ball. She was out in the field somewhere, and she caught the ball, but she'd had too much stage training, and so she caught the ball, and all the audience were all clapping and blah, and there she stood, and she took bows. She bowed all the way around.
Those were fantastic.
Indeed they were. But you know what? We need to kind of wrap this up so we can hear from our guest of honor. April, I think it's time we give each other and everyone else here tonight a chance to give Jennifer Franco a heartfelt send-off into retirement. I've already shared my thoughts with everyone here tonight. Is there anything that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I would like to share the fact that Mrs. Franco helped me discover my talent for performing and ultimately helped me to believe in myself. She gave me that extra push and that extra vote of confidence to get out there and grab the world and put it in your pocket. And I wouldn't be who I am without her. Thanks, Mrs. Franco.
Now let's hear from our friends. Happy
retirement, Mrs. Franco.
Okay, Jen, I just want to say congratulations. It's been a great ride. We've known each other almost half of our lives, and I think that we've supported and cared about each other for a long time, and I just wish you the best of everything. And I'm still jealous that you're 18 months younger than me and you're retiring now and I'm not. So there.
Jennifer, first of all, I want to say thank you for joining the Communication Arts Department at that time and making my life as the divisional so easy and so much fun. You stood up to exactly what we had hoped when we hired you. You brought a lot of professionalism to our department and a lot of fun, and those were the two things we absolutely needed. In retirement, I hope you go out and I hope you do all of the things that you did here at Mundelein High School. I hope you go out and you spread joy to everyone you meet. I hope you continue teaching, even though you may not be in a classroom. I know that you have a lot to teach other people, and I just hope you have fun doing whatever it is you want to do.
Jen, I wish you the best. I don't think we've seen the peak of you yet. I think there's so much more, and now with this free time, you can go explore and just be joyous in your life. The best to you.
Jen, you were one of the most welcoming teachers when I joined Mundelein High School. This department won't be the same, the school won't be the same. I will miss you. Have a wonderful retirement.
John, I am going to miss seeing you around because you tell me every restaurant I need to check out in Kenosha. So I still need to catch you as Ken Jen, downtown Kenosha Jen. And we're going to have to hook up on the outside here with a little bit of food, a little bit of lakefront. Keep me in the loop on politics, but all the best to you. I know that you are going to be the best in Kenosha for the people of West Osha and the people of downtown Kenosha.
Jennifer, when I retired, the faculty and staff did a scrapbook for me, and everyone wrote in that scrapbook, and you wrote the longest piece that I've ever read. In fact, I reread it before this interview and just finished it before I got here because it was, I think, 3 pages long. But I appreciated it very much, and I enjoyed your sentiments, and I want to share the same with you. You certainly have a lot of time to enjoy a fantastic retirement, and I know that you and John will find it fulfilling. And I'm going to tell you right now, being retired 18 years, I have not had a boring moment yet. So good luck.
Honey, I love you. I wish you the best, and we're going to have a great retirement together. Looking forward to it.
Well, Jen, it's going to be a big change for you, but it should be fun. You've earned your time to do something different, and it can be exciting things. Having retired myself a good many years ago, I enjoyed my second lot of work, and has given me something to do, and I'm sure you'll find something that's worthwhile. I hope you continue to be involved with the theatre and things attached to it, if not always in parts. But Dad and I really are very proud of how you managed your life, and We love you. And I'm sure he still does. Good luck.
Congratulations, Jen, on your retirement. Remember when you got here back in 1993 with me? We had the fishbowl in the media center. We had the new addition with the A-wing. Lots of changes have occurred during that time, but one thing has remained constant, and that's you. Your enthusiasm and your excitement every day and everything that you did in the classroom with students and with your colleagues, unending and constant. Congratulations on your retirement. We wish you the best, and you will never be forgotten.
Hello, Jen. Very happy to be able to say congratulations and well wishes to you on your retirement. They're certainly well deserved. You've been an inspiration to your students for many years, and in my short time in working with you and being able to go by your classroom, just seeing the engagement that you've had with your students and the passion that you brought every day is certainly something that has set you apart as far as being one of the true educators of our country today. We're going to be missing you, but we know you'll be off and doing a lot of fun things, and I hope you're sending us your theater updates so that we know when you're performing again and we can come out and see you soon. Take care. Best wishes from Mundelein High School. And remember, once a Mustang, always a Mustang. So know you're always welcome to come back home.